Good to be back on here. It's been a while. I like to come on when I have something to say, not just for the hell of it. That's why any kind of subscriptions or getting more into how to do this or how to do that and charging people is a pain in the ass because then you have to deal with constantly keeping up with it. And to me, that's not that fun. So this is more fun. I like it to be fun and playful. Maybe sometime later it changes, but um, anyways, back to what I want to talk about today. So people who have listened to this for a while know that I started off trading futures in the background, not in the background, in the short term is what I meant to say. And I've done a lot of stock stuff and kind of worked the last few years on, well, I'd say the last 3 to 5 years on longer time frames and position trades and swing trades and all this other stuff around my futures. And the message that I really want to drive home, because I feel like this is kind of a big point. I don't know who else out there is going through, somebody else out there has to be going through something similar that can benefit from this. And that's you, there's a life that you think you want. Who's you, like the ego or the character thinks that they want a life. And so they start pursuing that life, kind of like an external, like I'm going to grow and be better and bigger. And I've done this and I want to make more and grow and touch more people or have bigger size or hold my trades longer. And sometimes that is not coming from what you actually want to do. That's coming from what you think you want to do. And I believe that I might have went down that path for a long time. And I, ironically, what often happens is you get that when you give up on it and do what you're good at and do what you enjoy, keep yourself feeling productive and making money. And then you also get the other thing and you start to trade smaller and develop a new strategy. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, you have both. And I kind of, my future strategy that I got good at and that's how I basically made my money. That 10, 15 years of that or whatever it's been, that doesn't take a lot of money eventually at some point because there's so much leverage in futures. You can make hundreds and hundreds of percents on your account on a busy year, 1,000 even. I mean, it's not, it's not necessarily the same as the stock market. It's massive leverage. So what happened is when I started making more money, I had extra money. I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to trade this money now, and I don't need to use it in futures because I just don't need I have enough leverage in futures. So I'm going to learn to trade stocks, and I'm going to learn to hold longer, stuff in bull markets and earnings trades and all this stuff I worked on. I've tried so many things. And I think I found a lot of things that have worked pretty well, actually. I've had some ups and downs doing that. And, but in the process, since I had success in one thing, I was trading the other thing probably a lot bigger than I should just because I could. And that's stupid. That's just not a smart thing to do. And I thought it would be, I've talked with this at length in other podcast episodes about how you think you're running the 100-meter race and you can run the 400 or the 1 mile and hey, racing's racing. It's not, though. It's totally different. You have people spending their whole lives in like an Olympic sport, recording their screen, studying every 20% move, doing things like that for swing trading, like a whole life just for swing trading. Then you have people like me who spent their whole life learning to trade index futures during the day. And the amount of learning I have in my head, I can't pass that on to somebody. That you could maybe sit by me for a long time and pick up a bunch of things and then add it to your style. But it's hard to even teach that because there's so much going on there. I mean, it's like a full life that's been lived on that. And if you're an investor, a position trader is the same thing, right? And then like a legitimate investor who has a 5-year holding period, that's a whole another life, full life. Being multiple of those things in one person, extremely difficult. So I think in the realm of being a trader, when you're trading short term, like day trading, and going into swing trading, you can do that. You can add that. It's not easy, but you can add that on. And I tried to take on so many different things: wealth management, long term, position. I was doing it all, honestly, at some point. And I started to talk myself out of what I was really good at. And what started to happen is I started to trade too big, and eventually I got my butt kicked this year and took some big losers and got away from myself. So after taking a few months off, I've now gone back to short-term trading because right now it's a great environment for it in the futures. And I'm trading smaller to rebuild myself, and I'm doing great. I'm doing way better I'm surprisingly doing better than I even thought. And I mean, it's funny because there's a magic to that small size. You're always in the game. You never feel too low or too high, and you end up trading way bigger when you least expect it. It's it's the biggest magical secret that's hiding in plain sight in trading is the smaller size, and it leads to bigger size. It just does. But everyone wants to ramp it and have a linear mind and add more when they're winning, and it's it doesn't. I've seen so many people go through this. It happens when it needs to happen on its own, because your process is right and because you're feeling good about what you're doing, and you'll start winning, and you start winning bigger. So my point of this podcast, though, is that I'm on a walk right now, by the way, so I'm huffing and puffing. But the point on the podcast is that I felt like just needed to grow. Like my nature is to grow and read and learn and study, like a lot of you, always trying stuff. And I started doing that just for the sake of doing it. And I caused myself a lot of pain, a lot of a setback, and lost a lot of money that I probably didn't need to lose if I was trading smaller. And the answer is, well, did you get what you wanted? It's like, well, ultimately, yeah. The punchline here is have the life that chose you, not the life that you think you're choosing. Because a lot of times you're choosing a life that you think you want for reasons that don't make a lot of sense besides your ego. But really, there's a deep down kind of connection that you have, or a gravitation towards something that you're good at or that you like, and you'll just feel better when you're doing it. And sometimes you talk yourself out of that. And that's what I did. And I still have interest in learning swing trading and position trading, and I have a lot of stuff that I've worked on. And I believe when we get out of this kind of choppy, volatile market, that a lot of those things are going to be good, and I'm going to benefit from that. Right now, they're just not the best strategy to use. So I've probably done myself a good favor. It's just I happen to be learning at a time and doing a lot of studying, and it kind of culminated at a time where it's not the best thing to do. But the other stuff I've done this is a great time for it, and it always will be when it's volatile and busy. And slow grinding, low volatility bull markets are crappy index trading, usually speaking. So I kind of have a hedge on both sides. I have stuff for that and stuff for this. But I thought I had to just, transition myself, because I made this money and now I need to use it to position trade or hold growth stocks for 3 months or whatever I thought I had to do. And I tried all these things, and it just I eventually got really far away from what brought me here in the first place, is what I'm trying to say. I got away from the love of the game a little bit too, because it came just angst, learning and growing, and come on, you can get this, and let's, this shouldn't be so bad. This should be easier than what you already know, and all this kind of stuff. And I just didn't have that playful nature and that curious nature I had when I started futures trading. And now that I'm back doing it more, I'm enjoying myself. I'm productive again. And in a weird way, I think I'm going to hit the other goals without trying. And it's like a back door. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is my experience with that. Maybe talk about that more in depth later. It would be a fun thing to do a Q&A with and just go back and forth with people, because there's so much to say about it, but I'll just leave it at that for now.